Maji ni uhai. The problem that I was trying to solve was pollution, number one. There's a lot of plastic waste, oil spills, and industrial discharge harm in the marine ecosystem. There's also overfishing. There's also climate change, where there's rising in sea levels, coral bleaching, and ocean acidification. And there's also destruction of marine habitats. So in the first page, we have the home page, and then about us, where I stated the mission, where is to address the impact of water pollution on marine life, the economy, and tourism. And there's a team dedicated in raising awareness about the severe consequences of ocean pollution, where we aim to educate, advocate, and drive action to protect marine ecosystem. So our team is there: Khadija, Batuli, and me, Victoria. Our services, it's the solutions now. So the first solution is raising awareness campaigns, where we run educational campaign to raise awareness about the effects of ocean pollution on marine life and local communities. The second one is Action Hub, where our Action Hub provides resources and tools for individuals and community to take meaningful steps in reducing water pollution. And then there is monitoring and reporting, where we monitor pollution levels and report on the impact on marine ecosystems, economic activities, and tourism. There's also community engagement. We engage with local communities to promote sustainable practices and support ocean conservation efforts like beach cleanups. There's also events and workshops. We participate in our events and workshops designed to educate and inspire action for a cleaner ocean. And there's advocacy and policy, where we advocate for policies that address water pollution and support sustainable practices to protect marine environments. So you can choose to get involved in protecting our oceans. And there it is, our aim: cleanup initiative, impact monitoring, community engagement, and creative advocacy. So there's a picture there of fish. See how waste ruin our fish, using fewer plastic products, cleaning the beach. We have to save water, eat sustainably, and use eco-friendly products. Our impact on ocean conservation: we are dedicating to protecting marine life and preserving our oceans for future generations. Here is what we have achieved so far. Gallery: explore a collection of stunning imaging showcasing marine life and conservation efforts. You can see how beautiful the oceans are, beautiful fishes in the sea. So you can support our oceans. You can also support our initiative by purchasing some payments, where you can support us. Let's say you're a seagrass protector, you can pay 1,500 per month. Coral Guardian, you pay 3,800 per month. And Ocean Ambassador, you pay 7,500 per month. Some of the frequently asked questions is: how does plastic pollution affect marine life? Plastic pollution harms marine animals through ingestion and entanglement. Many species mistake plastic for food, leading to injury or death. Entanglement in plastic waste can also cause drowning or hinder an animal's ability to move freely. There's also what are microplastics and why are they a problem? And there's also what can I do to help reduce ocean pollution. So in case you find someone polluting the sea, you can report an issue. If you've witnessed any incident of ocean pollution or marine, you can write your name, your email, the location of the incident, and the details of the incident, and you submit the report. So my system was about that. Any questions?
Thank you for your presentation, Victoria. I have several questions which I will run through. Number one, I was looking at the program, and what the program indicates is that your system is called Pesa Bank system. So maybe I was wondering what is the link between that. When I'm told you changed, I was thinking what he's telling me. Maybe you have another one, you need to tell us that. But I'm happy that whatever you are doing is about marine. You will answer that not through the director's mouth. But anyway, now to what you have presented, maybe I would be interested to know how long you've been doing this. And then you have said that we can buy the packages, but for me, how do I benefit when I buy? Okay, what do you mean by, you call them what? Ocean Guardians? What is all that about? How do I benefit if I am going to buy your packages? Thank you.
Okay, this is just a startup idea. It's an initiative, Conservation for Marine, where we started last year, September. Yeah? It's not too big, it's still small.
Well, it's small, but I want to buy your package. If I become seagrass protector, what do you expect from me?
Okay, so if you are purchasing as a seagrass protector, 1,500, you get monthly newsletters, exclusive updates about the marine, recognition on our website, but you won't get access to webinars and annual impact report. But if you take the 3,800, you get all that and you also get access to webinars. But if you take the one that is 7,500, you get access to everything, including the monthly newsletter, exclusive updates, recognition on our website, access to webinars, and annual impact report.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Victoria, this is an interesting area. If you are looking to be an entrepreneur, then there's a couple of background checks you may have to do, because if I was a venture capitalist and I want to invest in your business, what would I look for? I would look for a unique innovation or a unique business concept or a unique business idea. So as part of your initiative and probably your team to live up to this as an entrepreneurial venture, you might want to consider whether are there other duplicates of this organization. Because if you look at this, if I have to go online and check, I will see Imagine Hawaii, Imagine Hawaii, Imagine Hawaii. There are so many programs. As an investor, I want to look for something unique that cannot be replicated. In as much as you are not inventing the wheel, but what is this new thing that you are looking at, which is just pollution, but you might want to really reframe that, and the University Innovation and Incubation Center can help you navigate that journey so that you have something that is unique, something that when you go and present, somebody who is interested to invest will say, this is something unique, you are trying to address this particular problem, and so forth. Otherwise, if you leave it the way it is, you might just have it there. You want people to subscribe to your business, it's not working. The other thing that I wanted to encourage you to do, which is still very new in Kenya, is, can you also consider the carbon trading? There are so many initiatives right now that you can venture in, especially in Mombasa, because you're looking at pollution. How can you gap that through carbon trading? Can you be the voice that is advocating for tree planting in Mombasa? Then you work with we can help you get in touch with the CY, I think it's the CYPD in Nairobi, that is documenting the carbon footprint. Then at the end of the year, you can be able to work with the small businesses in Mombasa, tell them to invest, to plant trees every year, even if they can plant 10 trees or 4 trees or so forth. The university can help you do that, because we are also in the business of planting trees. We can get for you the seedlings. Then at the end of the year, you document that, and then you sell the carbon credits. And there are so many companies that are buying those carbon credits. And you can even help the businesses in Mombasa earn more extra income through that, and you become the voice of that. So that's something that you might also want to think of course, and many other things, because you are competing in an environment that everybody is thinking about pollution. So
thank you.
My name is Gabriel Moingo, and I'm the co-founder of EcoPrints Generation. So before I even talk about EcoPrints Generation, I'd like us to go back to when we were in high school, right? So back when you were in high school, this is a personal experience that I had. So basically, the teacher would come in, biology lesson. So he'd teach transport. Then he'd come and draw the heart on the blackboard. For me, it was really hard to understand such a complex topic, because you'd find that drawing the heart, then telling you to imagine blood passing through the heart was pretty difficult for me. I don't have such a large imagination that I can visualize blood flowing through the heart. And I actually came to see that it was not only me that had that problem, but most students in my class had the same problem, where they didn't really understand these abstract concepts because they didn't really have things that they could use to kind of learn these things in a very interesting manner. So then I came and asked myself the question, how better do you think it would be if you had a live heart in your hand whenever the teacher was teaching you transport? How easy would it be if you had a puzzle that would help you kind of piece together the digestive system? How easy would it be for you to understand the kidneys if you had a kidney where you could just hold it and see the different parts and name it? So next slide. So basically, you'd find that 65% of all of us are actually visual learners, and we tend to understand things better when we see things. And the ironic part is that most of our educational content is actually text-based, so it doesn't really suit majority of us as learners, right? So you'd find that there are a lot of complex topics that have abstract concepts and are really hard for learners to understand, and educators mostly lack a clear reference point. Like my teacher, he had to draw the heart on the board. What if he had something he could hold? Next slide. So at the same time, Africa faces a really large problem of plastic waste. As highlighted by Victoria, we normally see that actually even while coming here, I'm sure you saw a plastic bottle on the ground, or even saw some plastic wrappers. You'd find that only 10% of plastic waste is being recycled. And this plastic waste poses a danger to our environment and our ecosystem. Next slide. So basically that's where we as EcoPrint Generation come in. We take that plastic bottle after you finish drinking water and transform it into an education material that would help a learner easily understand STEM subjects. So there's just one image of a medical student using a model we made to actually test for cervical cancer. Imagine that plastic bottle getting turned into something that would help a learner who's learning nursing basically get knowledge on how to test for cervical cancer, which is a really big problem in our country. So next slide. So basically our process normally involves plastic collection. We do this through community cleanups. We normally regularly hold beach cleanups. Then we also do the plastic recycling, where we basically take that plastic bottle and turn it into plastic pellets. Then after turning it into plastic pellets, we're able to turn it into the primary raw material for 3D printing. After doing that, we get into the fun bit, which is designing these intricate models. Then we 3D print these educational models, right? Next slide. So our target market mostly is education institutions. This includes medical schools or even normal schools, high schools or primary schools. Then we're also targeting non-government organizations that mostly deal with education initiatives, or even non-government organizations that do sexual reproductive health training. So the size of our market is really big. Our serviceable obtainable market is valued at $320 million. And currently, we target only 1% of that to give ourselves around $3.2 million in revenue every year for a start. So our direct competitors include people in companies in Nairobi who actually do 3D printing. Then they also include organizations such as SEPU that normally provide these education models, but they normally import them from outside. So the disadvantage of importing them is that they have a limited variety of models that they can make. Yet we as EcoPrints generation can literally custom make any model. Let's say you want a hat that's halfway, we make that for you. Let's say you want a hat that can be, you can take one half and take another half, then put them together. We make that for you. So we are very versatile in that. Next slide. So yes, so our models are not only versatile, but they're also eco-friendly in that they don't only empower these students with the right skills and education, but they also create, we throw away plastic waste because we don't see it as having value, right? So basically, by turning this plastic waste into something that this learner sees as valuable, they're able to probably adapt a very different mindset of plastic waste and even be more responsible towards their throwing away of plastic waste. Okay, next. So our business model again involves direct sales in the education institutions, then also partnerships with non-government organizations through sponsorship programs, where we basically partner with them towards providing these STEM models to schools. Next. So our current traction includes, we've collected over 14 tons of plastic waste in our environment and have empowered 400 plus learners across the county of Mombasa. Next slide. Then we've also gotten some recognition for our efforts. So we were able to become the most innovative project in the Mombasa Plastic Prize. We've also won grant funding of $15,000 from UNFPA. We've also had the opportunity to go to China, where we were able to take part in a student exchange program. Then have also participated in a startup conference in Algeria last year. Thank you. So basically, we noticed that we can't do this, whatever we're doing alone, right? So we've been able, collaboration is something that we actually see as very important to create large impact. So we've been able to collaborate with 2 medical and training institutes. I've collaborated with Take Kids Africa, which is a company that normally offers STEM education to students. And we're actually having a project with them where these models would actually help persons with disabilities. Have you guys ever wondered how blind people learn? Right? So the blind people can actually use this to learn STEM by feeling them. So we've also partnered with an NGO that normally does sexual reproductive health training, where we provide the models of the reproductive systems to them. Then also have UNFPA as our funding partner, as they are the ones who basically funded the hackathon that we won. Yeah. So currently we are raising about $150,000 because our company, basically, we deal with recycling, and recycling is not cheap. So it's a bit capital intensive, but by being able to raise this amount, we'd be able to boost our production capacity. We'd be able to even recycle more plastic waste from the environment, and we'd also be able to impact more learners. Because currently we only have one 3D printer and our production rate is pretty slow. But even with this production rate, we're able to raise revenues of around $20,000 last year, which is a good amount. And direct sales were basically around $7,000 in the whole year that we've been in operational. We've been in operational in around 2 years and actually started doing our operations early last year. So next. So we are composed of 5 team members, all ranging from disciplines of 3D design. I personally am an educator. I normally teach kids programming. Then we also have an environmentalist. Then we also have an investment officer who helps us manage our funds in the right manner. Next. So join us, EcoPrints generation, in turning challenges into opportunity and redefining how we view plastic waste. Thank you.
From the School of Computing and Informatics. My research is about methods for predicting metal contamination in water, sediments, and fauna along the Kenyan coast. In this blue economy, we have contamination of heavy metals like mercury, like lead, like zinc, arsenium. So according to UNEP, 80% of the contamination that we have in the sea are from the land-based activities, which leads to bioaccumulation in marine species, leads to imbalance. We've talked about imbalance includes things like overfishing and maybe migration of the fish into other territories. So we have to have a way of measuring this. So many regions, especially the regions like Kenya, we lack advanced monitoring systems, and that's why machine learning, which is it's one of the subsets of AI, will help in this. So we have regulatory challenges that highlight the need for innovative solutions to track and manage contamination effectively. So we have machine learning, which can enhance monitoring through collection of data and analyzing that data to see the movement of the marine ecosystem. So by analyzing this complex data from the marine ecosystem, we are able to come up with models, which has been done in other regions, in order to see the behavior of the ecosystems. So to explore how this ML address this heavy metal pollution, we did a systematic literature review, which now gave us the gaps. So our SLR, the systematic literature review, revealed the key themes that most of the researchers have done, and the algorithms, the machine learning algorithms that are used in this research. So based on these themes, our study focuses on 4 main research questions. So according to the article that we came across, we have 4 research questions. One of them is, what are the commonly used machine learning algorithms that are used in predicting heavy metal pollution in system, sediments, and fauna? Research question 2 was, what are the common major environmental and industrial factors that influence heavy metal contamination along the Kenyan coastline? Research question 3, how have Internet of Things and AI-driven systems been integrated into heavy metal contamination prediction and monitoring on marine ecosystems? And the last research question was, what are the current gaps? What are the current gaps in applying machine learning models in predicting heavy metal contamination? So we used, like I've mentioned, we used a systematic literature review, which following this framework, that's the PRISMA. We scored some databases, online ones, that is Google Scholar, Scopus, IEEE, Web of Science, Science Direct, Springer, and the inclusion criteria that is, what did we use to include an article, and what did we use to reject an article? We were looking at articles that are based on machine learning from the year 2010 to 2025, and they must have been written in English. For an article to be excluded, an article was excluded if it was not machine learning based, outside the marine pollution focus, and not written in English. And so this is, although not clear, this is the framework. We had, this is the Prisma framework. So we had 96 articles, which we were able to remove some, those which were duplicates, those which were repeating the same theme. So finally, down here, we had 28 articles in total that we were able to sufficiently study and come up with the themes. So just to go through the research questions, the machine learning algorithms for pollution prediction, the focus was to identify what are the models that are used in predicting heavy metal contamination in water. Now, and the findings were most of the studies used supervised learning. Now, in machine learning, which is a concept of AI, we have two approaches. We have the supervised learning and the unsupervised learning. So the supervised learning is whereby you train the model to follow a given, to be able to behave in a given way. And supervised is where you leave the model to train on its own based on the data. So these researchers, some of these researchers which use supervised models are the one by those four and others. Now the supervised models that they use include the k-nearest neighbors, random forest, and the ARDL. Now those ones which used unsupervised models, we have these studies, the two of them, and one of the gaps in this research question 1 is that there is no comprehensive study that focuses on one model. So these are some of the comparison of the models and their accuracy. Now that percentage there, like you can see, 99% is for the SVM model. Then we have the random forest, we have the neural network, which is at 93. Then we have decision tree and KNN at 85%, which are some of the models and their accuracy in prediction. Research question 2 was about environmental and industrial factors, and the focus was we wanted to look at the factors that ignite the metal contamination along the Kenyan coast. And these are the findings, that major factors include the climate change, industrial discharge, mining, and agricultural activities. That's according to these researchers. And most of these studies address these factors individually with limited research on their combined impact. So the local relevance of this is that there is a scarcity of studies that is focused on the Kenyan coastline. Most of these that we have are from other regions, which do not give us that local relevance of the study. Research question 3, we were looking at the integration of IoT, that is Internet of Things, and AI systems. And the focus was, do we have any other advanced technology that we can use in pollution monitoring? And the findings, which was interesting as we did the research, is that we have sensor networks, whereby we have connecting with the satellites. You can be able to see migration of fish. Through, not migration, overfishing. That is, you're able to see, to monitor the fishermen, the way the keynote speaker was talking about. We can be able to have sensor networks and satellite imagery, and the use of drones, which are used to collect real-time data. That's according to the research that was done by those researchers there. So AI and machine learning are applied to analyze the data for pattern recognition. Machine learning is about identifying patterns using data, so that you can be able to make decisions based on data. And the challenges here was the cost. Of course, we have the cost of setting up those systems. the infrastructure, and the regulatory barriers. Like we've been told by the keynote speaker that we have an issue between the regions when it comes to now controlling this fishing between the regions. So we have the regulatory barriers. And then still on that, so we have IoT sensors and AI-powered models which improve real-time detection. And this can be also used. There are some articles which were talking about smart water quality monitoring. That is still on marine and early warning systems for contamination. How do we know that we have some contamination? We can have early warning systems which were done by some researchers. And we have AI-based optimization for resource management. So an example is you can use AI-driven systems used to monitor hydrogen production efficiency in water industries. Actually, there was one research that was focusing on this, where we have AI-driven systems for monitoring the hydrogen production. And then lastly, we were looking at identifying the gaps, which the focus was to determine the areas needing further research in machine learning applications for marine pollution. And one of the findings is that many studies were focusing on model development without real-world validation. We also have data scarcity. Like I told you when I began this presentation, is that we started with that topic on hydrogen. But now because of lack of data, we came up with the title that we have. So we have data scarcity, variability in pollution sources, and inconsistent reporting, which complicates generalization of models. So there is limited research on hybrid machine learning models, and their long-term effectiveness, as well as the policy-based integration into sustainable blue economy frameworks. So we have this, we just mentioned this in summary. The need for, one of the recommendations is that we need for high quality training, that is for AI models. Before you come up with an AI model, you have to have a data set. So challenges in scalability and cost effectiveness of AI-based solutions. So another recommendation is policy framework, and then we promote collaboration between academia, the policymakers, and the industry. Like we have had some presentations about the same, and invest on IoT infrastructure. Like it was one of the challenges. That is where we have cost as one of the challenges of investing, coming up with IoT infrastructure. So that is the conclusion about machine learning. So the next step that we intend to do now is to use the SVM, which was one of the models, to develop and maybe now apply that in the Kenyan coast and see how it can be used to monitor and to see to help improve on the imbalance that we've just mentioned. Thank you so much.
Conference is the blue economy and innovation. So out of the topic, we had the blue economy, which is now the resources from the ocean and how they can be able to benefit to improve the economy, create jobs, and even conserve the ecosystem. And this blue economy consists of the industries, like we have the fisheries, we have marine transport, we have coastal tourism, and we have marine biotechnology. Then under climate finance, now that this blue economy cannot be sustained and it cannot be able to give us optimal benefit without having the funds. Now, under the climate finance is now the sources which will be funding this blue economy for us to reap the benefits. And among the tools that will be used now to fund the blue economy, we have the blue bond, we have carbon credits, we have ocean investment, we have marine conservation, and also we have what we call climate adaptation efforts. Then this blue economy is beneficial, but however we find that it's being impaired by what you call the climate change which now gives it a disturbance that we cannot be able to get what it has to give us. This climate change impairment is out of rising sea levels. We have ocean acidification. We have extreme weather. We have habitat degradation, threatening marine ecosystem. Also, we have food security and a livelihood which is being disturbed or disrupted when we have extreme weather conditions. And the blue economy also have the challenges which are experiencing. However, people as entrepreneurs are using this blue economy to improve the economy and their own personal lives. But we end up having the challenges like you have overfishing. People are depleting the fish from the ocean, even the young ones. We have pollution from the floods, sweeping everything to the river, and now the environment is not habitable for those organisms in the ocean. We have weak governance, which is governing the blue economy in total. We have limited financial investment, and not people being encouraged or having appetite to invest more in this blue economy so they can be able to generate more money. Then we have inadequate technology innovation, which now hinders sustainable that the economy is not growing, or the blue economy itself is not growing to give the country its benefits. Then we have the entrepreneurs. Out of this blue economy, it offers several opportunities to our entrepreneurs to improve themselves, and at the end of the day, it translates to a wider economy growth of the country. So we have ranging from eco-friendly tourism, we have sustainable fisheries, we have low-emission maritime transport, we have marine biotechnology, then we have climate-smart aquaculture, which offers now potential economic growth. Then the study questions ranges from which climate finance instruments that are able to support development in the blue economy. Question 2, what business opportunities exist in the blue economy amid climate change? Question 3, how does climate change influence economic stability and the livelihood in the coastal communities? The last question, what are the strategies that can promote long-term economic growth while addressing the climate change risk in the coastal area? Under the methodology, it was a systematic researcher review from the past studies, where the researcher had to use the key string word to extract the empirical, the past studies related with the current study. Out of these, the key words that were used now to establish what are the studies that has been done in this topic, we had climate finance, there is entrepreneurship, blue economy, then we have climate finance, then entrepreneur opportunities, and the blue economy and climate change. So initially, there were 95 articles. These articles, there is studies done, then there's reviews whereby studies, those who did the study, they didn't go to the field to collect the data, also they did a review like mine. Then we have the policy papers, whereby we have the proceedings from different conferences done globally about the blue economy. So we are now adding up to 95. Now, to ensure relevance of this study, whether they are relevant with the current study, screening was done, and we were to exclude those who are not related using the PRISMA model. And those who are excluded, we have, when we are searching for this study, you could find like climate change effect, which is general, is not touching coastal region, and is not in relation with blue economy. We have a blue economy, impact on blue economy, generally without now impacting mostly on the coastal region. And we have even the climate change, but is affecting generally not the coastal region. So those were among the studies which were to be. Good afternoon. As they are projecting, I'm Dr. Zipporah Nyachoya from the School of Business, Finance and Accounting Department. So the topic of my research is climate finance and entrepreneur opportunities in the blue economy, advancing sustainable growth amid climate change challenges, being a thematic review, literature review. Now from the background part of it, now that the theme of the conference is the blue economy and innovation. So out of the topic, we had the blue economy, which is now the resources from the ocean and how they can be able to benefit to improve the economy, create jobs, and even conserve the ecosystem. And this blue economy consists of the industries, like we have the fisheries, we have marine transport, we have coastal tourism, and we have marine biotechnology. Then under climate finance, now that this blue economy cannot be sustained and it cannot be able to give us optimal benefit without having the funds. Now, under the climate finance is now the sources which will be funding this blue economy for us to reap the benefits. And among the tools that will be used now to fund the blue economy, we have the blue bond, we have carbon credits, we have ocean investment, we have marine conservation, and also we have what we call climate adaptation efforts. Then this blue economy is beneficial, but however we find that it's being impaired by what you call the climate change, which now gives it a disturbance that we cannot be able to get what it has to give us. This climate change impairment is out of rising sea levels. We have ocean acidification, we have extreme weather, we have habitat degradation, threatening marine ecosystem. Also, we have food security and a livelihood which is being disturbed or disrupted when we have extreme weather conditions. Then the blue economy also have the challenges which are experiencing. However, people as entrepreneurs are using this blue economy to improve the economy and their own personal lives. But we end up having the challenges like we have overfishing. People are depleting the fish from the ocean, even the young ones. We have pollution from the floods, sweeping everything to the river, and now the environment is not habitable for those organisms in the ocean. We have weak governance, which is governing the blue economy in total. We have limited financial investment, and not people being encouraged or having appetite to invest more in this blue economy so they can be able to generate more money. Then we have inadequate technology innovation, which now hinders sustainable that the economy is not growing, or the blue economy itself is not growing to give the country its benefits. Then we have the entrepreneurs. Out of this blue economy, it offers several opportunities to our entrepreneurs to improve themselves, and at the end of the day, it translates to a wider economy growth of the country. So we have ranging from eco-friendly tourism, we have sustainable fisheries, we have low-emission marine transport, we have marine biotechnology, then we have climate-smart aquaculture, which offers now potential economic growth. Then the study questions ranges from which climate finance instruments that are able to support development in the blue economy. Question 2, what business opportunities exist in the blue economy amid climate change? Question 3, how does climate change influence economic stability and the livelihood in the coastal communities? The last question, what are the strategies that can promote long-term economic growth while addressing the climate change risk in the coastal area? Under the methodology, it was a systematic literature review from the past studies, where the researcher had to use the key string word to extract the the past studies related with the current study. Out of these, the key words that were used now to establish what are the studies that has been done in this topic, we had climate finance, there is entrepreneurship, blue economy, then we have climate finance, then entrepreneur opportunities, and the blue economy and climate change. So initially there were 95 articles. These articles, there is studies done, then there's reviews whereby studies, those who did the study, they didn't go to the field to collect the data, also they did a review like mine. Then you have the policy papers, whereby we have the proceedings from different conferences done globally about the blue economy. So we are now adding up to 95. Now, to ensure relevance of this study, whether they are relevant with the current study, screening was done, and we were to foster community engagement. So this goes along with capacity building. Capacity building, you start with the surrounding people. You build them with a capacity building to tell them what's the significance of maintaining this ocean. Then you do what you call skills training, especially like the youth and the business people around. We have what you call sustainable livelihood. You ensure that these people around, they have, if they cannot depend in one maybe business, you have to teach them on how they can be able to diversify, and to diversify especially people in the coastal populations. Now that marks the end of my presentation. Welcome, Enemy.
Catalyst for sustainable growth of the blue economy. When we are talking about the blue economy, we must refer to the key outcomes we expect in that particular economy, including ensuring that we improve the livelihoods of those who interact with the blue resources within our coastal regions, to ensure that we are able to create jobs, to ensure that we are able to preserve these coastal ecosystems. And of importance is that the Kenyan government, in the blueprint for enhancing the blue economy, it has identified some of the core subsectors in this economy: fisheries and aquaculture, to facilitate food security and sustainable livelihoods. We have culture and tourism to ensure that the coastal resources are optimized so that the benefits to the coastal people, things to do with inclusion and diversity, are achieved. We also have the extractives subsector, which takes care of the oil, gas, minerals, as well as the renewable energy sources. We have the environmental conservation, which takes care of the total health of the ecosystems. And my focus today is one of these subsectors, that is maritime transport and logistics services. To contextualize, you look at global trade that is done through the sea. It takes a share of 80% in terms of the volumes, and 70% when we look at the value of whatever that is transported through the sea across the world. This is simply because we have to ensure that whatever that is scarce around the world, where items, products are manufactured, assembled, or produced, they must be distributed and delivered to the respective customers who are in it for business. Of interest is that 90% of Kenya's international trade occurs through the port of Mombasa, and based on the recent establishment of the Kenya National Shipping Line, statistics have it that we have an increase in the cargo throughput at the port of Mombasa, which rose from 33,000 to 880,000 metric tons to 35,978 metric tons. Over time, the same port has witnessed an increase in container traffic, where the number rose by at least 11.9%. The total number of ships which are also handled at the port of Mombasa has increased by 17.6%. As such, that has also increased the capacity of the container freight stations which are supposed to facilitate decongesting of this port of Mombasa, and therefore increasing their throughput as well. So how do we ensure that this growth is sustainable, and how can we minimize environmental degradation by ensuring that we optimize trade efficiency? We look at the role that logistics, maritime logistics plays when it comes to supporting the blue economy. And as we said earlier, we must achieve the key outcomes of any economy of enhancing livelihoods, creating jobs, and of course, facilitating commerce or trade activity to take place. Three things which are strategic in enhancing the blue economy through maritime logistics. One, we have to ensure that we have efficient transportation through our seas. This is where we have to ensure that the costs are reduced, we optimize the available routes within the sea, and of course ensure that we enhance the performance of our ports. And key to that is that the LabSet project is ongoing to ensure that we're able to increase the capacity that is handled along the Kenyan coast. Second, we have to protect the marine environment. We were told earlier that fishing and related activities are directly affected. And if we have to preserve the fish and the marine life, we must ensure that there is responsible disposal of waste within the sea. We have to prevent the unnecessary oil spills, and of course ensure that we have sustainable shipping practices that are going to ensure that we do not negatively impact the marine environment. Thirdly is to invest in sustainable technologies, where we are looking at ensuring we use energy fuel efficient vessels. We use digital innovations to ensure we streamline the transportation activities as well as clearance processes at the respective ports. So how do we integrate sustainability into the logistics aspect of the blue economy? Three things as well. We must ensure that there is sustainable transport and logistics solutions which reduce the carbon footprint based on the activities at the sea. We have to mitigate the human impact, the human activities that take place at sea, so that we conserve the marine environment, and ensure thirdly that we establish a regulatory framework that will allow Kenya to continue serving as a strategic point of entry into Eastern and Central Africa. So we ask ourselves, how do we achieve the sustainable blue economy through maritime logistics? Economically, we must ensure that we invest in these maritime technologies that allow us to monitor the activities at sea beyond just tracking the movement of these ships. We must be able to detect when these oil spillages happen or anything thereof that would endanger the life of the maritime ecosystem. We must also make sure that we provide adequate shipping routes which are going to cut the costs and other disruptions thereof. Remember, during the Israeli-Hamas war, some of these routes were blocked, and therefore the products which were being transported to various markets across the world delayed for a while, and some of them could not really get to reach the customers who had placed the orders. We must also ensure that through maritime logistics, we must train professionals who will enhance port efficiency so that we can maximize on the economic outputs of the port of Mombasa, the port of Lamu and the forthcoming projects. When it comes to environmental conservation, we must ensure that we implement waste management solutions that enable us to put control measures that minimize pollution from maritime logistics activities. We must also ensure that we have stringent safety regulations that are going to allow us to reduce the oil spillages that pollute the maritime ecosystem. Thirdly, to adopt clean energy sources for maritime transport activity. On the social and governance aspect, first we must provide education and research that fosters innovation and sustainability, trying to integrate research into the kind of practical solutions that we are developing to change how the maritime logistics activities are carried at sea throughout the world. At the same time, while we are enhancing community involvement of the people in the coastal region, we must be able to develop mechanisms of ensuring that carried out beyond operating these particular ports which have been established, and most importantly support alternative food security solutions in these particular regions. Recently we had a conference that happened I think towards the end of 2023 that considered to develop a cabotage regulation that will unite the existing legal framework to avoid the conflicts which arise at sea, as we were told in the morning, to minimize those disputes as well as the negative cost implications of those disputes. And therefore, from the research which focused on 33 articles that were reviewed through a systematic literature review using the spider model, where papers were sampled based on the terms maritime logistics, blue economy, as well as sustainability. This allowed us to conceptualize a research that is based on these particular limitations in terms. Earlier, we were informed that while we are reporting on the fishing activities, we have inconsistent data. And therefore, at times when these ships are moving at the sea, we may not really be able to quantify the capacity of whatever fishing activities they are doing, and therefore determine the alternative routes which can be used by only transportation vessels. Secondly, we had infrastructural limitations around some of our hubs not being able to handle the most recent operations, including customs clearance, where some of the systems at some point were not as incompatible, especially with the surrounding ports. Another challenge was around the port inefficiencies and pricing framework issues that generally affect the levies, the taxes, and the other tariffs that are expected to be paid at the port. Of importance is that these inefficiencies lead to delays in the respective ports, and therefore those customers who are importing are also charged an additional levy that we call the demurrage fees for purposes of taking care of the space that their shipments are holding while they have exceeded the required number of hours that they should be there. In terms of training, there is a shortage of skilled maritime personnel, and we are happy that with the establishment of the Bandari Academy as well as the Malindi Maritime Academy, we will be able to create some workforce development programs that can enhance the kind of workforce we have to work in the respective ports. Lastly, the weak governance and regulations that is generally brought about by the inconsistencies around the policy developments which are there, which most of the time are focusing on Kenya as a country, not the East African customs that we use. So based on the literature that was reviewed, when we are looking at the components of maritime logistics that facilitate the sea trade that we are talking about, that distributes products around the world, including inputs, various manufacturers, transport optimization of maritime activity was identified as a key contributor, followed by shipping, sustainable shipping practices, maritime logistics innovations, as well as regulatory frameworks. This contributes to the output we are going to get from the overall maritime activity that we expect should strategically contribute to sustainable growth of the blue economy. And therefore, when we look ahead, we must develop integrated transport networks that will help us ease the congestion at ports, and also make sure that there is adequate connectivity from the sea to the hinterland. Secondly, we must enhance our port infrastructure, especially increasing the number of berths to take care of the increased traffic of the ships and the kind of containers that we are handling at the port at the moment. Of importance, now that we have the national shipping lines having been established, it's important to ensure that the country reduces the reliance on foreign vessels to facilitate internal trade activities. We must also identify the green or sustainable shipping practices that are aligned to the emerging regulations, like the cabotage regulations I mentioned earlier, that allow a number of ships to be discharged at various ports or harbors, but of course the constant aspect of the costs affiliated to the offloading of these ships being constant. We must also make sure that we optimize the port operations and tariff structures to ensure that we minimize the cost of having us receive goods at our ports, which are not necessarily destined to Kenya, but to the other landlocked countries whose trade we facilitate. We must also strengthen the maritime governance and laws that exist by ensuring that they align with the international and global standards based, of course, on the sustainable development goals. And lastly, we must ensure that we invest in training. We must ensure that we invest in training that will help us take care of this new frontier of economic empowerment within the sphere of the blue economy. As I conclude, it's important to recognize that as the blue economy is growing, distribution of products, acquisition of inputs is going to be affected by the various investments which are being made in the sea. Therefore, one of the core areas that must be addressed is policy coherence that allows us to have fair trade activities along the Kenyan coast to ensure that we do not lose a number of countries that are landlocked but would prefer us to process their goods for purposes of their imports. To this end, it's important we collaborate with the researchers, the practitioners at the respective ports to facilitate this sustainable growth of the blue economy. My name is Conrad.
Education and training for blue economy. You realize that education in blue economy can help in getting awareness about the importance of marine environment. For competent workforce is very key driver of growth and development in this particular industry of marine. And now, hence, the role of training institutions is very paramount in ensuring the success of marine industry. We realize that the institution helps in skill development. The institution that help in skill development that are required in this particular industry, that's marine industry. You find that the training become very paramount. The training become very paramount for this particular institution to become or to stay competitive in that particular industry. So we say that our education system need to evolve to meet the demands of the blue economy. And the universities and technical institutions, particularly in training, need to offer more specialized programs and courses that are related to hydrographics, marine engineering, nautical science program, STC dubbing, sustainable fishery, and marine management. You find that this particular education and training program that should be offered in this particular institution, they need to be inclusive, they need to be accessible, and they need to provide opportunities for youth, women, and marginalized groups. Another thing is that by fostering diverse and inclusive workforce, this can help us to ensure that the benefit of the economy are shared with the people. We find that there is no any single institution, the country, or individual that can be able to handle the challenges of the blue economy alone. And this requires collaboration between the government, academia, industry, and civil society. One thing that we need to learn is that the training that we have, or the training that we need to provide to our people, should also include the development of the soft skills, such as problem solving, teamwork, leadership, which are essential for working in dynamic and complex marine environments. Because you find that these people are set in work in different places, like in the ships, and not only, maybe we are not talking about people working in the ship. We have got someone who will be required maybe to complete the operation in that ship. We have got engineers, we have got people in the hospitality industry, so they need to have all these kind of skills, and we need to train them. Now, you realize that as a country, we need to invest in training programs that will provide access to cutting-edge technologies, that will ensure that workers are not only prepared for these challenges, but are also positioned to drive the future innovation of the sector. I talk about collaboration, whereby we say that nobody can work alone. It's here. And that's why we say that for us to achieve our objectives, especially when it comes to the education and training of the blue economy, we need to collaborate in terms of information sharing, joint training exercise, setting up of marine research centers, creating a memorandum of understanding with other industry players. Maybe to talk about this, joint trainings exercise. We hear that the equipment that are required, infrastructure that are required for the purpose of training, they are very expensive. Maybe you need to buy the simulators because simulators are very expensive. So we can get MOU with a well-established institution where we can share those equipments while trying to do a training. And that's why I was talking about that. With the collaboration, we find that it will help us overcome the marine training challenges. And some of the challenges that I was talking about is that we have the infrastructure, whereby some of them are capital intensive, and then you have got the funding limitations. Like I was talking about, buying simulators is very expensive, so people working are maybe involved in the training, education training, we can come together and share those particular equipments. And another thing that here that which is also a challenge that require collaboration, we have got the capacity caps. We have got limited trainings in the area of marine. And if we can offer the training whereby we can share even the lecturers from various institutions, maybe those who are working in the industry, they can come and train our students. They can help us maybe in improving or maybe to limit this particular gap, especially for training purposes. So I think I wanted just to capture that. I was given that assignment, something that I was to talk about, and I have to stop there. Thank you.
If you have a question, kindly ask.
Lengo la kongamano hili.
Asante sana. Jina langu ni Dr. Masri Mkamade, the DVC Academic and Research Affairs. Hii kongamano tumeileta Mombasa ili kufikiria mambo ya research, entrepreneurship and innovation katika ya mambo ya bahari. And particularly if I can be able to talk about the theme, the reason why we picked on this theme is because as an academic institution, we have a responsibility to be able to contribute to the policies that affect the country. So kwa hivyo tukiangalia hilo lengo la marine ni kujaribu kusaidia wanafunzi wetu na walimu ili kufanya research in the areas that pertain to developing the blue economy ambayo ni mambo ya bahari. Asante.
Shukran sana. Mkuu, ningependa uweze kuangazia utafiti huu ambao umefanyika leo ambao tumeletea uvumbuzi wake.
Jambo la kwanza la kutia maanani ni kwamba sisi kama Mount Kenya University tuko na agenda moja kuu, naweza sema kwamba ina our strategic plan 2025-2029. Jambo la muhimu ambalo university ama chuo chetu cha Mount Kenya University linajaribu kuangazia ni utafiti ambao unalenga kutafuta naweza sema solutions to the local economies, and therefore sisi kama College of Graduate Studies university limetupatia ile jukumu la kuendesha mambo za utafiti ama hizi anything to do with research for the university, and therefore tumefikiria tangu mwaka wa 2024 kwamba tunafaa hizi campuses zetu kama Mombasa, Malindi, Nakuru, Eldoret na zile campus zote siweze kujumuishwa katika mambo za research ama utafiti ukipenda, ili tuweze kusukuma gurudumu la kutafuta suluhisho kwa zile challenges ambazo zinalenga sisi kama wa Kenya, the Sub-Saharan Africa na kadhalika.
Shukran. Wewe kama mkuu wa chuo hiki kikuu cha Mombasa, the director namaanisha, una mipango gani au wewe na kundi lako mmepanga nini ili kuwasaidia hao wanafunzi wa Mombasa kuweza kuja na utafiti wao wenyewe?
Jambo la kwanza ningependa kusema kuwa nimeshukuru kwa kuweza kuwa na this particular event. The event was so successful. The students were able to showcase their innovative activities. We had the students, especially in the area of blue economy, and we were able to receive the visitors. Some of the visitors are key stakeholders, especially in the maritime industry. We were able to get the researchers, and our students, they were able to learn from the people who are the leaders in that particular area of maritime industry. Kama campus hapa Mombasa tutaendelea kuwa na such a kind of programs every semester. Tutaendelea kuwa na research and innovation conferences, na that is also as per the university strategic plan that every campus across the country they must have a designated time to engage in research and innovation, and we shall continue to provide the resources to our students so that they engage fully in the research, because we cannot develop. One of the key mandate of the university is to participate in the research and innovation, teaching and community service. And by engaging in this particular activity where we attracted so many people from the various sector of the economy, they came, and we were also able to cooperate with some of the community-based groups that were able to contribute positively towards this particular research for the purpose of exploring the opportunities that are in the blue economy. So as a campus, we shall not stay there. We shall be in the forefront to ensure that we promote the blue economy. And it's the agenda of our country. That's why we have got a full-fledged ministry that deals with the blue economy. Thank you very much.
Shukran. Nikimalizia ningependa nipate maoni yako kuhusiana na kongamano hili kwa ujumla. Maoni.
Kwanza ningependa kushukuru kwamba kongamano hili limekuwa successful. Participation ilikuwa encouraging. Members were able to go through several presentations by the various presenters, and I wish to say that it was very enriching and informative, and we hope that the outcome of these particular presentations and our conference will go a long way in enhancing the knowledge and also investment in the marine industry, and also our students will take an advantage of what they have learned today, also to think about moving into the trainings in maritime, and so that they can secure meaningful jobs. So as a university, Mount Kenya University is committed to bringing up employable Kenyans and also skills to our students, and we appreciate all the participants and everybody who has played a part in making this event successful. Thank you.
Kama unavyoona ndo kongamano limekamilika sasa hivi.